Hello, guys. I'm Brianna Anderson,
And I'm Laurel Huston.
and this is the Bougie Boardroom, where luxury meets leadership. And this is mentoring for women ready for wealth embodiment, strategy, and soul sparkle. So, today's episode, we're talking about wordplay and what does it mean really? So, I'm really excited for today's episode. So, we're going to start with you, Laurel. You are excellent, excellent at helping people understand that when words are meshed together, they don't always mean what we think they mean. And you're really good at flipping words on their back. And I think we share that similar interest of
Mhm.
wanting people to have a reframe. So I'm going to let you start with maybe just to go right into it deep. What's a word that really shifted for you?
Oh, the first word that really shifted for me was the word desire.
Mm,
And so rather than reconstruct words, which I do that as well, and you're amazing at this, but I like to find out what they actually used to mean rather than the modern translation.
mm,
When that word started to be used, what does it mean? And so, if you listened to last week's episode on wealth, I talked about the difference between wealth, prosperity, and abundance. Oh, it's things like that. It's finding out what does the word actually mean in its original context. And so, for me, it was the word desire. So, because I grew up in a very conservative religious background, and so desire was taught to be this very sinful, hellacious thing that you should stay away from. And
mm,
then I started to study Tantra, and desire is actually so beautiful because desire, the Latin, which is where it originally came from, is desire. It means the Father. Desire is actually alignment to your
mm,
higher power.
mhm.
Desire is when your head, your heart, and your higher power are all in alignment. And so for me, that completely changed because a lot of people will put righteous desire in front of the word desire to kind of try to make it better. And I was like, no, the word desire literally means the Father. And when your head, your heart, and your higher power are in alignment, you are doing the will of the Father. You are following desire. And it became this very, for lack of a better word, righteous thing. It
Yeah.
became this very holy, sacred thing to follow desire.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, our listeners are getting all the goodies today. I'm like, look, at less than 5 minutes, and they're like my mind is still blown when you say that because I'm like, yeah, women especially, we have so many desires, right? And we're talking
Mhm.
about wealth embodiment and strategy. And if you don't trust your desire, like, what's the point? Yeah. Okay. Really cool.
Well,
What Go ahead.
so the other one that was really, really big for me that just came was pleasure,
Mm, hmm hmm
because pleasure is to be pleased.
mm,
And pleasure is not just about sexual pleasure, but that's where people's minds usually go. And so pleasure is something that to be pleased with yourself,
mm,
self-pleasure,
hmm
to be
hmm
pleased with others, that is pleasure. It's a pleasure to meet you,
Pleasing. Hmm
pleasing. And so it's this place where again we've mashed it in with people's dysfunction and turned these very beautiful words
hmm
into almost how dare you say such a thing. And
Yeah.
yet they're very sacred and they're very spiritual. So that was a big thing for me.
Yes, that's actually really great. I love that. The reframes are like huge, right? I always
Mhm.
like to say, like, you can do the inner work and make it hard and grueling, or you can just take the word that you think is your like roadblock and use it as a springboard. So I think that's really, really powerful.
Mhm.
So, with wordplay and with words is, you're really good too at pulling apart like this doesn't equal that, meaning this word doesn't equal that word. Is there any words that come to mind when you think of that? Like not mashing them together, not to put you on the spot, and
One will come to me, but as you were saying that, a bigger thing is, well, belief.
hmm
Because in the personal development world, which I've been in for almost 30 years now, everyone talks about false beliefs. And so I was constantly trying to change a belief, but you and I do a lot of belief work. And so I'm going to say this, and I just need people to breathe through it as I explain. Because Brianna and I have talked about this multiple times.
yeah.
Um, People rarely have a false belief. What they do have is fear.
Mhm.
And so, one of the reasons why we talked about wordplay and why it's so important, and why Brianna wrote an entire book on this, and we'll get to that in just a second because it is masterfully written. Um, Most people don't have false beliefs.
Mhm.
They have rules that they fear the consequence of. And so we follow what people told us, not because we believe it, but because we fear the consequence of not taking action on it. And so a simple example of this would even be something so much as like, oh, if you, whether you believe in heaven or hell or not, are you actually a good person, or do you just pretend to be a good person because you fear the consequences of going to hell? That doesn't actually make you faithful, that makes you a coward.
Afraid of fear. Yes.
And so, do you actually believe what
Mhm.
others have labeled as false beliefs, or do you just fear the consequences of it? So, if people will say, oh, hard work and money, that's a false belief. But do you actually believe that you have to work hard, or do you just fear if you don't work hard enough that you can't have money?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's where I love to do my wordsmithing. But I want to turn the spotlight onto you for just a second because this is one of Brianna's main gene keys is epiphanies and simplicity.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
she has this beautiful combination of taking really complex things that are easily misunderstood and making them so simple and giving people the moment where they go, what? That just completely changed my mind. So,
Mhm.
Brianna, tell them what is the name of your book and tell us a little bit about why you wrote this book because it's actually something. So, to me, it's not necessarily a read front to back book. I
Mhm.
almost use it like an oracle card deck.
Yes.
I guess is the easiest way to explain it. And it's like, okay, what is my heart being called to today?
Yeah.
So tell them about your book.
Yeah, I love that. So thank you. So I actually have it right here by me because I'm like, ooh, same thing. So you're right. It's called Book of Epiphanies. So foreplay through wordplay, orgasms for the mind. And I think the biggest, most fun part about writing that was the part where it's like orgasms for your mind does like literally what your hands just did. It's like we want mental stimulation as much as we want body stimulation and like emotional and spiritual stimulation. And so I'm not really sure what you asked me, so I just got really excited. What was your question?
Just tell us about it. What inspired you to create it? Because, and I have to say this, because of where this is placed in Brianna's human design, this wasn't just oh, gonna write a book. This was
No.
I am partially fulfilling the
Mhm.
reason I'm here on this earth by
Mhm.
writing books, by teaching. To say that this is a calling is almost an understatement. Like this is very much in alignment with Brianna, who she is, and the gifts that she brings to all of us.
You're
So.
so sweet. I have goosebumps. Thank you. I'm like, sometimes you need women, guys. This is literally why we have the sacred space, just so you know, because like you don't always see how close you are to your creations, and you're like, what, that thing? And we downplay our like creations, right? But yeah, I got this knowing from Human Design and Gene Keys. And for those listening, you go to genekeys.com, go look at your evolution sphere. And in one sentence, the idea is that if you are willing to share this gift with the world will not withhold your evolution. And I'm like, well, I'm here for growth. Like, I want to like be a big, big ass oak tree. I don't want to be a little baby bush anymore. So, anyways, I felt like I was here to share some really weird ideas. And Laurel actually helped me work through a lot of what it means to be misunderstood because a lot of people, when they're ahead of their time, they're bringing new ideas and new ideas aren't always understood. That's the point. And I think this episode is a lot of that. Like, we're not here to fit into the mold of the same language of the self-help industry. We're here to say, pause, you're so freaking bored with that same shit, different title, same script, right? It's work on yourself. You're not enough. You must be unmotivated. And I think that language is so, we're just done with it. And so
Mhm.
here we are back to passion. So I'm like, what are the words that I needed to break through so that I could be willing to be misunderstood, but still be in a space of belonging where I could trust that my work would touch someone, even if it meant facing all my fears. So I love what you just said because I've never heard you explain it that way, which was we don't necessarily, you've said it, but it just hit differently. Like we're tailoring our mindsets around the avoidance of fear rather than just like, I'm afraid of this. Okay, let it go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking that. But what else are you thinking?
So, what are some of your favorite words that you deconstructed in the book?
The first one that comes to mind is depression, the word depression, for a lot of reasons. And then I really sat with that and I was like, well, depression rhymes with oppression. And then I went super inappropriate. And I'm like, well, the O comes before the D, like literally. And it was like, no, we're not depressed, we're oppressed. Like we're not speaking our truth. And we are stifling the energy that wants to be self-expressed. So of course we're depressed. And so I think a lot of that, especially with the females that we're, teaching and training, it's like, how many times are we told to just shut our mouth, be polite, all the right things, but yet we have so much energy that wants to be expressed, and we're sitting here being oppressed for a lot of reasons. So that's probably one of the words. In the book, I have words that are like just playful, and then more words that are more serious. Like you said, there's heaven and there's hell and there's religion and there's different beliefs that hold our table up, right? Like there's pegs, and if you knock a peg, the table falls down. And so I try to do that in a very playful way because I'm sure once you start deconstructing things, you've got to be willing to take ownership that you're the one that has to put something back in its place. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I know you've been through that too. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Hmm.
So, as you were talking about expression and depression, one of the things that I love to tell my clients,
Hmm.
because I'm really big on women learning it's safe to be seen as
Yeah.
and pick their as.
Yes.
So, because some people are like, oh, I don't feel safe to be seen. And I'm like, seen as what? Seen as wealthy, seen as healthy, seen as beautiful, seen as old, seen as ugly, seen as fat. Where does your nervous system actually feel safe to be seen? Because
Hmm.
that tells you why you have the life you have. And we'll
Hmm.
do a different episode on that one. But as you were talking about expression, the thing that came to my mind was true expression does not need explanation.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And so when we try to explain ourselves rather than express ourselves, it does feel like oppression, like you were saying. And so it's like that explanation creates that sensation of I can't be who I am. And so that is to me why wordplay is so important. Play with the words and
Exactly.
allow yourself to express yourself because that is what actually helps you to feel safe to be seen. Most of us hide ourselves, not because we're hiding who we believe we are, but
Hmm.
because we're hiding all the parts and pieces that other people put on us. And we're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be seen or known for that anymore. I didn't choose that. That's what everyone told me I had to be. And
Hmm.
so we hide not because we're ashamed of who we are, but because we don't want other people to put their projections or assumptions on us anymore. And so to me, wordplay is how one of it is a tool to help you heal and
Yeah.
change the labels, the all of
Hmm.
the things that other people have placed on us that
Yeah.
make us hide.
Hmm.
Expression and wordplay is how we can redefine
Yes.
those words to make them mean something that we want them to mean. Because belief work, anyone who has been really deep in mindset, it
Yeah.
is hard to change a belief. So I like to just change the meaning of the belief. I had a client that I was working with, and her boss always tells her, because she's in sales, and her boss always says, "Oh, it's a numbers game. Oh, it's a numbers game." And I said, "Cool. So anytime you hear him say it's a numbers game, in your mind say, yeah, and I work with different numbers than you do."
Yes. Yes.
Because the way that she works, she sees like 10 clients a month and has an 8 out of 10 uh,
Conversion.
conversion rate,
Right.
where her counterparts are getting like 100 people
Yeah. Right.
and still only having like a 4 or 5% conversion rate. And
Yes.
so she's like, yeah, we are playing a numbers game, but I play with different numbers than you do. My numbers are allowed to look different for you.
Yes. Yes.
If you believe, so rather than try to change your belief, change the meaning of the belief. When
Mm.
people say, "Oh, money requires hard work," cool. And I have already had a lifetime of hard work, so I have already done all the hard work that I
Mm.
need to do. My hard work is over from this point forward. I
Hmm.
just get to have money.
That was my favorite thing learning from you, actually, when I first met you and I was like a student and like, teach me. Really, it was life changing. I'm like, I've worked my ass off. So yeah, that was profound. Yeah.
And if you can't claim, because a lot of women, that's actually one of the things that they are horrible at doing is actually claiming how much time, energy, effort, and hard work they have already put into life because they're just doing what's expected of them.
Yeah. Right. And how dare us question it?
Mhm. And so if you're like, oh, I still can't change the hard work, money, then change your definition of hard work.
Yeah.
Mindset is hard work. Feeling emotion in your body is hard work. Doing the deep dive, doing the healing work, that is the hard work. I can
Yeah.
go out. We're literally redoing our backyard right now. On Saturday, I spent 9 hours moving rocks, planting trees, digging dirt. We went to the dump twice because of all the concrete, like tore up a sidewalk. I can do hard work like that all day long. My
Yep.
kid came home yesterday, found out in the same day that his best friend is moving and his favorite teacher is retiring, sobbed in my arms for an hour. That was hard work. Holding space for other people's emotions without judgment, that's hard work.
hmm hmm
The
hmm
wordplay is a
hmm
redefining of not just individual words, but of the meanings we've given them. And the
Absolutely.
most important part to this, and this is what I love that you exemplify this, Brianna, you take words and
hmm
you play.
Yeah. It's
Make
very,
it playful. So can you give and here's the because you are the fish in water with this, do you even know what your process is? Or does
honest.
it just
I just
come
know how
to
to
you?
get. No, it just comes to. And I love that you said that because part of in the book, it's like I try to explain in the book, like you've got to let it come to you. It's like a lover. Like when you got desperate, needy energy, that partner's like, I'm out. Like
Mhm.
you got to let me breathe. And I'm like, dude, that's how epiphanies and new ideas are. They want to fall in your lap, but when a mind is in survival, it can't catch. That's the biggest part. When you're in survival, you cannot catch the higher planes of consciousness because your energy's so constricted and tied up on surviving that you're like, holy shit, I didn't know I could access this. So
Mm.
honestly, this book came to me on the airplane home from Bali with you. Like
Mhm.
when we were on a plane, I got the title and it was like Orgasms for the Mind. And I'm like, God, you're hilarious. And that's cool because that's my relationship. Like if you're
Mhm.
not funny, it's not gonna work.
Mhm.
So it's like the playful part of it. And when you say that, it's like, yeah, I am going to say things, but it's for the sake of laughter and tickling the soul, not the mind, because the mind gets a little bit too serious, right? Like I see it in myself too. But like the word gentle, literally, you play with it and just add one I, and now suddenly we're not talking about gentleness. Now we're talking about the genital. And it's like, okay, so just looking at how spelling is, because I'm so close to it, the spelling is part of it, but then it's actually more rhythmic. It's my need to rhyme and
Mhm.
have it rhyme because I'm like, okay, so if we can find words that rhyme, then suddenly it's like music. And I know that if we get into like this lull state, that's where we access the subconscious mind, which is where we're holding all these beliefs anyways. And so
Mhm.
to answer your question, I think the funnest part is teaching people that you've got to get the mind in a space of like more of a lullaby or alpha state or, more of a rhythmic space. So, yeah, that's what I would say about that. It just comes. I don't know, it just comes. But that's kind of how we all are with our gifts. And that's how I
Mhm.
perceive, like even how you are with some things. I'm just like, how does that happen? And you're like, what? And I'm like, oh, that. Like, how do you translate naturally? Like, anyways, you were gonna say something.
Oh, so one of my favorite words that I don't want to call it deconstructed. I'm going to reconstructed. One of
Yeah.
my favorite words in the books that you reconstructed is the word mystical.
Oh,
And
yes.
so she changed the word mystical into missed a call.
Mhm.
And because I was like, wait, what? And so she explains that when you do not allow yourself to have mysticism in your life, when you are not allowing yourself to have magic and mystery, because then you have missed your call from the divine. And
Mhm.
so many people that are in the personal development industry and
Mhm.
won't allow themselves they'll allow miracles, but they won't allow magic or mystical things to happen.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would
And
agree.
it's why they keep missing their call from the divine because they've made an they don't trust
Mm,
that the inspiration they're receiving
yes.
is real. And so that was one that made a huge difference in my life because I was like, how, not that I've missed my calling, but it's like, okay, how can I be more in tune with how my higher power calls to me? Not just calls me and gives me instructions, not just, hey, where's my pizza? Like it's, but how often is he calling me to a higher place? How often is she calling me to be an example? It's like, how often is the God of your understanding calling to you and you
Mhm.
have missed the call because you won't see yourself as mystical?
Yeah,
That was a huge shifting for me that it was like, okay, because, and it is, because the whole thing with mystical is that there is mystery. There is mystery behind it. And so if people try to make that be dark
Yeah,
rather
right.
than light,
Hmm.
and for me, I'm like, no, to me, the most beautiful part of mysteries is that something gets solved at the end.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
And so a mystery and being mystical is asking questions and knowing that someone will call on you with an answer, or maybe you are the answer.
Yeah, or like following the breadcrumbs of the energy, right? It's
Hmm.
like the strategy, the thing that came to mind was like talking about strategy. It's not all practical. And yes, you need the strategy is practical, but I think there's two counterparts and you just separated them so clearly. Like, yes, we need the practical strategy, but if we don't have the mystery, then like how much are we able to see how much better it gets? Because we've already decided this is how life is, right? We've
Hmm.
got concrete evidence over things that aren't necessary. So I freaking love that.
So
So,
my other one that I feel like pertains very much to the bougie boardroom
yes.
is your reclassification of CEO. So rather than chief executive officer, it's
Yes.
creative energy outlet. You're the CEO of your creativity. So
Mm,
choose the outlet. And I was like, yes, that one difference in abbreviation is why every woman who ever started a business because
yes.
she had creativity and she
Yes.
needed an outlet for that creative energy to have a place to go. And
Yes.
when, so just like the CEO is the chief, they are the person that's in charge of it.
Yes.
Reclaim your creative energy, ladies,
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge.
and decide what energy outlet, your creativity. So, CEO is your creative energy outlet. When you are the CEO of your own life,
Hmm.
you are choosing where your creative energy goes. And that was
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I love this. Like I said, the whole book is amazing. So we will put a link so that you guys can, if you don't already have it, that you can absolutely um, get that book. And then I have one more.
No, don't
One
be
more. Okay. I'm like, I literally love the
let
book.
it rip.
So,
I'll just sit here and adore you. I will
so
admire
the other
you.
one that and it was really personal for me. And this one, if it brings up emotion, I'm just gonna let it bring up emotion.
Yes.
Without ever asking,
Mm,
people put me on a pedestal.
Oh, yes.
And that is not something in my life that I've ever been comfortable with others doing because
Mhm.
I don't choose to be on a pedestal, but and both in a positive and derogatory way, people pedestal me.
Mhm.
And so it's like I actually came up and I started to say people stop confusing your insecurity with my judgment.
Yes. Yes.
Because I would have some people that would accuse me of, you think you're better than me. And then I would have other people, the exact opposite, that are like, you are so much better than me because of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I
Right.
have
Right.
spent a lot of my life really hating comparison.
Hmm.
So then I start learning human design and gene keys, and I actually have a gene key that says
Your main one, boo.
my
51.
main my main gene key is that people will put me on a pedestal. And I was like, oh, okay, well, at least they were doing it honestly. Like, so
Big
as
shift.
I was reading through Brianna's Book of Epiphanies, it said pedestal, Petty stool. When you are on a pedestal, you are on your petty stool because you believe that you are more cool than other people. And I was
Hmm.
like, yes, there is a part of me that um that's why I don't want people to put me on a pedestal because it's like, are you being petty or am I being petty? Do you think that you're better than me and you're trying to reverse it and flip it onto me? Or
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
you like, because the thing with a pedestal is that eventually you fall off.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And
right.
that's when it really hurts. And
Hmm.
so I have spent my whole life very aware that
Hmm.
pedestals are rooted in people being petty. And so
Yeah.
like my desire to not be on a pedestal is
Mhm.
actually the thing that I have appreciated the most about myself and despised that other people keep trying to put me on one.
Yes, I think it keeps their victim consciousness alive. When I was writing that, I'm like, it's like you are almost happy that you're lower or beneath. And then when they show any sort of imperfection of being human, it just validates your see, like there's just so much that doesn't belong. So we invite you all to get off your pedestals and also not put gurus in the industry above you, because if you wanted to be on their stool, you would be. And truth is, you really don't want to be. Like, that's the truth. Wouldn't you say that? Like,
Absolutely.
the truth is, you're way more like free when you don't need to have a certain role and you get to be multidimensional anyways.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the other one that I was like, oh, there's a lot to
Uh,
that.
yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm. I think as you were talking, I don't know why, but one of my favorite words on the more heavy side, and it doesn't have to be heavy, but obviously part of my story is going through divorces more than twice.
Mm.
Okay, twice. And I realized that part of the word divorce and force, they rhyme. So it's like, okay, why did that come to me? So I had to ask my brain, like, what is the similar context between divorce and force? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think if you're going to create a successful business or a successful anything, the relationship you have with yourself and the relationship, well, you have with yourself, I'm going to start there, is the most important foundational aspect of the entire, like,
Yep.
whatever empire, right? And so it was like, okay, so if you are willing to stay married and you have this really crappy relationship and you're not willing to get divorced because of what it means about you, the idea is that people that want true love, they're willing to not force it. And so they're okay with divorce because they're no longer willing to force love. And
Hmm.
so I just feel like someone listening needs to hear that for whatever reason. So I'm going to trust it, but you don't have to force love and you also don't have to force your success. And
Hmm.
so I think that's a really good place as well to pause. But
Well, because that kind of leads into your definition of income.
yes, yes.
So income come
Mhm.
in. You don't have an income problem, you have a letting it come in problem. And I that very much goes along with what you were talking about with force and divorce because
Mhm.
um, a divorce is what allows you to divide force.
Yes. Uh-huh.
It's what allows you to cut force off. And so, usually, when we hear the word divorce, we automatically think of marriage. But I would
Totally.
invite us to divorce ourselves from anything that makes us prove,
Hmm.
anything that makes us have to um, just really, how
Hmm.
do you want to say this? There are so many things that it's like, I want to divorce myself from that. Like, I divorced myself from the God of my childhood because he was an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I have a whole, in divorcing myself from that relationship, I have a opportunity of a completely new relationship
Mhm.
because I no longer have to force that other one. And so,
Yes.
like you said, I'm not sure who needs to hear this or who's listening, but get a little, give divorce a little more grace
Yeah.
because divorce is dividing you from force.
Hmm.
It's allowing you to no longer be in that push and that struggle.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say something.
No, no, no. You actually just added to what I was thinking. Like, we can divorce behaviors. We can
Hmm.
divorce low X, like, just there's so many things, right? Like, I think that you actually just nailed what I think is so cool. And the purpose of even writing the book is that I wanted to help people change their identity. And you really can't do that until we like deconstruct all of the like clay around you. And so it's like sculpting, right? You have to let go of some things to get to the gold. And you know me, one of my favorite books forever, and it always will be because it's in my healing journey when I started, but The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And I
Love that
realized,
book.
love it. And it was like, okay, so if you haven't read it, go read it. It's a really good read. What I love the most in that book is like, dude, you want your light, you're chasing all these amazing things. Turn around, look at like what Laurel said. What are you fearing? Look at the places where you don't dare look, because the self-help industry isn't standing on a pedestal saying, look at your shadows. Like, no, no one is saying that. Everyone is saying, look at how beautiful my life is. Yeah, but how the F did they get there? And so, like, me and Laurel, I won't speak for her, but I think we jive on the idea that we're gonna say it how it is, and not to like disrupt you, but to disrupt the patterns of thinking that have you believe that maybe you're broke, or maybe you're behind, or maybe that you're not enough, like she said, or that you're comparing, or whatever your story or ideology is. But there is a way to divorce from those thoughts altogether. Like you can divorce from thoughts, and you can divorce from beliefs that would have you believing that, you know, those crabs when they're always trying to like keep each other down.
Hmm.
That's how I see beliefs. I'm like, oh no, hell no, cut that one off. So I guess the purpose of saying that is to change your identity. You have to divorce the old version of what you used to tolerate.
Hmm.
So
And to me, wordplay and wordsmithing is an easier way to do that
yes,
because rather than having to take on a new belief, you can just add to the belief you already have.
yes. Mhm.
Or you can change the rule around the belief. And so when I tell people you're you don't have a false belief, you have a rule. Change the rule if it's not working for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Give me,
there are rules that change all the time.
yeah, good point. I was just thinking, give me an example though, like, because I know what you mean, but maybe the listeners want to hear what you mean by rule, because when you explained it, it comes natural to you. That's why I'm like, pause, hold on. The audience wants, what do you mean by rule?
Okay, so I'm gonna well, let me back up a little bit because this will make it make even more sense. So most of us, if it's actually something we believe, it's because we have evidence.
Yes. Hmm.
So many things that are classified as a false belief, I say in quotes, um, we don't actually have evidence. We just
Hmm.
have fear.
Yes. Yes.
So an evidence-based belief is someone who has gluten intolerance, they have a belief, they
Mm-hmm.
have knowledge. If I eat pasta, I get sick.
Yeah. Right.
A child who has evidence that their mother gets sick could create a rule that says, if I eat pasta too, I'll get sick too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they may not actually believe it
Hmm.
because they see that their sibling can eat pasta. They see that their dad can eat pasta. So they see all these other people
Yeah. Right.
that can eat pasta and not get sick. And so you automatically start to question the belief. So you're like, okay, well, I don't know if I believe it or not. So I'll just create a rule that says I'm not going to eat pasta because I fear the consequence of getting sick.
Gotcha. Totally. Yes. The rules. Hmm.
And so a belief generally has evidence behind it. A
Hmm.
rule is something that you use someone else's evidence and you just say, okay, I'm going to adopt that into my own life.
I like that. It's taking power back into your own ballpark, essentially. Hmm.
And so, and it can go both ways because you can never eat pasta because you have a fear that you will get sick because you saw someone, but you've never experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
Versus you can look at everyone else who eats pasta every day and say, I can eat pasta whenever I want to, and it doesn't affect me in any negative way. And that's my rule.
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But the reason I say make it a rule instead of a belief is because all of us have rules in our life that have, we've changed the rule and we've changed our life. Simple things. For instance, before
Hmm.
you're 16, you can't legally drive.
Yeah.
You
Right.
turn 16, you get a license, the rule changes.
Yes. Hmm.
For people that are raised, I was raised very in a religious situation where sex before marriage was not allowed. 20-minute ceremony, ring on the finger. Now it's not just that it's allowed, it's now supposed to happen on a regular and ongoing basis. Rule changed.
Yeah. And based on where you're at, the rules change too, right? Like who's to say America is the same as somewhere else it's not, right?
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so the reason so people are like, well, sometimes rules and beliefs can be the same thing, right? But it is easier for you to change a rule than for you to change a belief
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
rules change all the time.
All of the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There could be a door labeled authorized personnel only,
Hmm.
but your friend is authorized. So now all of a sudden you're going through the door that previously you weren't allowed to go through. The
Yeah.
rule changed. And so I just like to remind people it's easier to change a rule than a belief. So change the rules around your beliefs.
Hmm.
So we're going to make this personal for a minute, or let's turn it to money because this is all about wealth embodiment.
Yeah, right.
So if you have a rule that says more money equals more responsibility,
Hmm.
do you actually believe that?
Hmm.
Because for me, the more money I have, the easier it is to exhale.
Yeah, right.
Like my level of responsibility actually diminishes because now instead of being the person that does the grocery shopping, does the laundry, works the 9 to 5, all the things, I can hire somebody to do that. I can hire
Yep.
somebody to meal plan. I can hire someone to do the grocery shopping for me.
Yep. Absolutely.
But when you are on such a tight restriction that $5 fee to have someone DoorDash or deliver your groceries for you, that's a heavy responsibility.
Yeah, right. Hmm.
And yet you have other people that they're like, oh, the more money I make, the more responsibility I have. That is not my rule. My
Yep.
rule is the more money I make, the easier my life becomes.
And everyone, we're going to encourage that you adopt that today. And money is for women, not just men. Yes, we have to say it. I
Oh,
know
okay.
someone's like, don't get me activated. I'm like, no, we got to be activated. So we've got less than just a minute here, but go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh, well, it's a long one. So this is in less than a minute, this is what I want to bring
Yes.
that. Um, because it is so easy to change your rule, I invite all of us to use wordplay to look at the rules we've created and change the words and change the rules and
Mm,
change your life. And if you are not sure how to do that, then join Brianna and I at our live events.
mm,
Legacy and Lace is coming up June 11th through the 13th in St. George, Utah. Registration is still open and available, and we would love to have you there. Come play with us, come change words with us. And we love you.
we love you so much. We're excited, guys. Until next week. See ya.